Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
And what is up, you guys? Welcome to the stream. The New York Mets dropping their series finale with the Chicago White Sox in this one as they fall by a final score of 9-2 for the Mets, unable to complete the sweep over the 21 games under 500 White Sox. Very frustrating game from start to finish. Griffin Canning with obviously his worst start of the season here in 2025 in his short tenure with the Mets. Doesn't really do much of bats offensively, as the Mets only could get it as close as a 5-3 ball game before the White Sox just continue to add on in the later innings. And it really just felt like from the jump in this one that the Mets had no chance to win. So very, very frustrating for sure. Guys, what's up? I'm Tony Metro. If you're new to the channel, I do daily Mets content. We do post-game recaps and streams, and we also do other stuff, shorts, and other little thoughts and ideas about the team as we go through the ups and downs of the 162-game season. You could also check out my latest long-form video that just came out yesterday. Bobby Valentine, the most interesting baseball mind in the world. That dude was just bizarre, and his journey is really fun and interesting. Hopefully you guys enjoy that if you've checked it out, and if you haven't already, then go check it out after we finish the stream here today. You can also follow me on all the other platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, blah, 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 all in the description below of this video. But the Mets with a really rough day today at the ballpark. You know, we know that this game was originally scheduled to be an evening game, and it ends up getting moved to the afternoon. That announcement was made yesterday during the game on Tuesday for the Mets and Sox. So it kind of had a weird feeling to it from the jump, even just going into it. Now, that's me talking as a fan, and I can only imagine players, even with ample notice that this game time was changed from a night game to a day game. I can only imagine what it must be for the players to realize, oh, wait, I actually got to get to the ballpark at 10 a.m. tomorrow, probably even earlier than that, 9, 8 a.m. to get all my work in before the game, especially for a starting pitcher. And that was the case for Griffin Canning today. It was clearly the worst start that we've seen out of Griffin Canning so far in a Mets uniform. Unfortunately, though, not all his fault. Let's get into it. In the first inning, though, the White Sox able to put a couple hits together. They tag him for 2 runs on a double from Andrew Benintendi. He got the scoring started for the White Sox. You know, you're thinking, all right, well, you know, he was due to kind of have like a bit of a clunker, but it's just one inning. You know, he could easily settle in from here. But then in the second inning, Brett Baty has his throwing error. Then the Mets have a fielder's choice. Jeff McNeil tries to make a throw, and that is a throwing error. And all of a sudden, the White Sox add 2 more, and it's 4-0. So both of those runs in the second inning are not earned for Griffin Canning, but the Mets find themselves in an immediate 4-0 hole. And then the very next inning, so the White Sox coming out and scoring in each of the first 3 innings of this one, 2 in the first, 2 in the second, and then tack on another one in the third, and it's a 5-0 ball game immediately. And this is all with inclement weather on the way. You know, we weren't certain if this was going to be a full game. You saw there around the late 7th, maybe the 8th inning, the rain really starting to come down. And we were thinking, wow, this probably won't even be a complete game at that point. But obviously the Mets find themselves in that early hole. Mark Vientos, though, with a 2-out, 3-run homer to get the Mets back into this one immediately in the bottom half of the third. And you're thinking, all right, you know, maybe we got a shot. 6th home run of the year for Vientos. First home run in 50 at-bats for Mark. So that was great to see, just barely getting it out over the wall in right field. And then from there, I mean, it just seems like that was the end of the line for the Mets today. Brandon Waddell comes in and actually looked pretty good. He pitched the 4th and the 5th inning for this team, throwing up zeros in both of those innings. But then I think Carlos Mendoza got a little too comfortable using Waddell for as long as he did. The White Sox tack on 2 in the 6th to extend their lead back out to 7-3. He goes back out for a 7th inning, which is, I mean, bizarre to me. I didn't even think that they should have asked him to pitch a 3rd inning in the 6th. And yet he goes back out and gives up another run in the 7th. And all of a sudden the White Sox get all 3 of those runs back. They have their 5-run lead back, and it's 8-3. And by that point, it's just, you know, it's over. I mean, the way this Mets offense has been going, I didn't think there was a chance they were going to come back from that big of a deficit at that point. It's an afternoon game after a night game. Mind you, a game that was not supposed to be an afternoon game. There's nobody in the stands. It's starting to rain, and it just kind of looks like the Mets from top to bottom punted this one today. I mean, from Mendoza, the way he managed the bullpen, from the lineup outside of Mark Vientos' 3-run homer, they looked lifeless. The defense was poor in this one. And I don't blame Griffin Canning for having a bad start. He's been magnificent this entire year. Obviously, he's due to have a bad one here and there, but he obviously didn't have his A stuff either. He had a couple walks in those first few innings that allowed those errors to bring home some of those runs. So just from top to bottom, this was an uninspiring game. It was a frustrating game for me. I mean, look, they won the first two, which was nice, but this is a team the Mets could have and probably should have swept in the Chicago White Sox. I mean, they are a much better team than they were last year, but that's not saying a whole lot. They just set the record for the worst record in baseball over a full season last season. So, what are we really talking about? This is not like, oh, they're on the rise. They could win 74 games this year. Nah, they're still going to probably win less than 60 games this year. They're 21 games under 500, now 20 after beating the Mets today. So knowing how tough the schedule was this past week before, 3 against the Yankees in the Bronx, 3 against the Red Sox, even though they're not living up to their hype, and then 3 against the Dodgers. The Mets came out of that little 9-game stretch 4-5. Great. Well, then you have 3 at home against the White Sox, and now 3 more against the Rockies, who are going to be even worse than last year's White Sox team. And you're thinking, dude, let's go get 6 in a row. Let's sweep both of these series. And that's where I'm a little frustrated. It felt like Mendoza and the rest of the team mailed this one in today. Let's start with Mendoza, because I think the Mets had a chance when it got back to 5-3. Brandon Waddell has pitched 11 major league innings in his entire life. He's done that with 4 different teams, and the last several years he has spent in South Korea. He had a really nice spot start for the Mets a couple of weeks ago. He was brought up today to give them some innings and, soak some of them up. Shorthanded with the bullpen, day game after night game. That was not originally planned. You got 2 scoreless innings out of him in the 4th and the 5th. I don't know why Mendoza put him back out there for the 6th. And I definitely don't understand why he would put them back out there for the 7th, where he gave up another run. So that was a big issue for me. D-Rails, what's up, man? Trade Beatty now. What's up? No, we're not trading Beatty. Beatty has been playing pretty well lately. I mean, honestly, I still just don't think any other team's going to view him the same way that we used to, as that top prospect first round pick. I don't think that will ever be the case with Brett Beatty again, unless he has a season like Mark Vientos did last year. And if that's the case, we're not trading him. We want to keep him on this team. So I don't think Beatty's going anywhere, but that was a brutal throwing error to set up the 2nd inning right after the White Sox had already claimed a 2-0 lead. Very, very annoying for sure. But back to Mendoza, I just don't really understand why he went so long with Waddell in this game. And I also don't really understand why he only let Canning go 3 innings. Yeah, his pitch count was up to 80. He threw 44 strikes of those 80 pitches, but 2 of those runs came in on errors. I mean, 2 of those runs were all a product of poor defense behind him. The one from Beatty, the one from Jeff McNeil. So I would have let Canning at least try to go for the 4th inning, and then maybe you could have patched it together and gotten 2 out of Waddell like you did, and then maybe had gone to some of the more elite arms in this bullpen. Huascar Brazaban, who has not pitched since Monday, or it could have been maybe Ryan Stanek, who had only pitched on Monday as well. So the guys in this bullpen were rested. I'm assuming that it was only Reed Garrett that was not available today. Edwin Diaz did not pitch yesterday. He obviously did pitch on Monday as well, but I would assume he'd be available today, especially with tomorrow being an off day. So I don't know who was and was not available in the Mets bullpen, but it seems pretty clear to me that Edwin Diaz, Ryan Stanek, and Huascar Brazaban all should have been guys that Mendoza could have depended on to give him at least 1 inning today. And instead, he asked Brandon Waddell, who was just recalled from AAA, who, again, has 11 career major league innings with 4 different teams, and most recently was pitching in South Korea, to try to soak up 3 innings in this game. I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. And I know I'm downplaying the White Sox and who the White Sox are. And so you might say, well, Waddell is the perfect guy to use there because it's not a super talented lineup across the way for Chicago, but he's still obviously pitched in Korea for a reason recently. He still obviously has bounced around teams throughout his major league career for a reason. He's not a super talented arm. So I would have counted my blessings after getting 2 scoreless from him in the 4th and in the 5th, and I would have went to one of my more trusted arms in that bullpen, whether it was Brazaban or someone else like that, maybe Max Kranick, something like that. But I don't know the full availability from this team, but I thought Mendoza did not manage this game to win today. I think he managed to keep it close and hope his offense would get it going, which they have not done at all recently, despite scoring 6 runs yesterday. So perfect jumping off point. Let's talk about this lineup. Look, they scored 6 runs yesterday. It was the first time in 15 games the Mets have scored more than 5 runs. And even yesterday, I don't think it was a super impressive performance from this lineup. They had 6 or 7 straight hits in the first inning. Then they only had 1 hit from the 3rd inning on until they finally rallied for that insurance run in the 9th inning. They had 12 hits. They had 6 runs yesterday, but 4 of those runs came in the 1st inning, and 6 of those hits came in the 1st inning. So this offense is still a huge issue. It just doesn't look right. I mean, Pete Alonso has quietly been slumping. Nice to see him get that RBI double here in the 9th inning and, close the gap a little bit from a 6-run game to a 5-run game. But Pete Alonso has obviously been in a little bit of a funk lately. He had the homer yesterday. He went 1 for 4 in this one. His batting average is now down to 290. But an 0 for 5 from Lindor, his batting average has dropped crazy this year. It is down to 269 now. His OPS is at 789 now. And that without talking about the biggest elephant in the room, and that is Juan Soto. Juan Soto, another 0 for 4. I mean, it has just been unbelievable what has happened to Juan Soto since he's put on this Mets uniform. He is down to a 225 average. His OPS below 700. It is at 692. It seems like every time Juan Soto comes to the plate, it is either a strikeout or he is chopping the ball into the ground on the right side for the weakest out that I've ever seen. I have no idea what else I can say about Juan Soto at this point, but it has been horrible. D-Rails, you're right. The Mets mailed it in too much. Mendoza favors certain players. Yeah, I mean, it just felt like a punt game for me, and I don't know why. It was a super winnable game, obviously, from the jump with it being Mets versus White Sox. Griffin Canning did not have his best stuff. The defense, though, did not do their part, obviously, behind him. And then for Mendoza to try to soak up all those innings with Waddell just felt like the Mets were like, we hope we win, but it's not that big of a deal if we don't. And it just doesn't make sense to me when they have the off day tomorrow, when they could have used some of their more high leverage arms and they could have used some of their more trusted bullpen arms. It just doesn't make sense to me. But Soto has just been horrific. There's no other way to say it at this point. I don't know what's going on with him. I've never seen him look the way that he is looking right now throughout his 7-year career. Whether it was with Washington, with San Diego, we know that they have tried to paint this picture of, when he first got traded to San Diego back in 2022, these are similar numbers. But, I mean, I was not watching every single Padres game at that time, but I can tell you this, I just don't believe that he could have possibly looked worse than Juan Soto looks right now. Everything is a strikeout. Everything is a weak chopper to the right side. I mean, it is just so un-Soto-like, and I don't get it because he's a Met now. I know, Buzz, that's literally how it always goes. The Mets always have to pay a player acquisition tax. Every superstar player the Mets seem to acquire, it takes them months, sometimes a full year or even longer to get back to where they were prior to putting on the orange and blue. And I don't get it. We saw it with Carlos Beltran. We saw it with Francisco Lindor. We saw it with Mike Piazza to a degree. And then there's the guys like, and I'm terrified to even say this out loud, I'm going to knock on wood, like Jason Bay, that never, ever, ever live up to those expectations. I'm not even going to talk. I'm not even going to talk about that. I am not even going to put that energy in the air. All I'm saying is it doesn't make sense, especially because he just played in New York last year with the Yankees. I've seen some people trying to say, Yankee Stadium might have broken his swing. But Yankee Stadium, him trying to hunt for that short porch in right field instead of being an all fields kind of hitter like he was throughout his entire development, has affected Juan Soto. I don't know if I'm buying that, but it's possible because it can't be the pressure of New York. It could be the pressure of that contract, but I just don't feel like that would be something that would affect Soto, especially not to this level. If he was hitting 260 and he still had the OPS like up around 850, I'd be like, okay, look, the home runs will come eventually. But no, like 225, OPS below 700. What the hell is going on with this guy? We've tried moving him in the order. He's been hitting third for basically the entire last week. We have changed around who's hitting in front of him. It's consistently been Pete Alonso hitting behind him. I don't know. Do other pitchers still not respect Pete Alonso as that power threat? Are they still trying to pitch around Soto and saying they'll take their chances with Pete? I'm not sure, but something has got to give. This has been brutal. Yeah, I mean, Buzz, he had Judge last year behind him, the greatest hitter in baseball, arguably the greatest hitter of this generation. There's no way the Mets could replicate anything close to that. So I understand, but it's still about the talent in the actual guy. And that's Juan Soto, and I just can't believe how poor he has looked so far in a Mets uniform. Top three in the order, just not been getting it done lately. Top four, I guess now you could say. Lindor, Soto, Alonso. They're hitting 1, 3, and 4 right now. Lindor goes 0 for 5. Soto goes 0 for 4. Pete gets a cheapy whatever base hit for his lone hit in this one in the 9th inning off a reliever that came in cold. So, like, great, whatever. But it starts at the top. Those three guys have not been getting the job done. And I think this team is reeling. They're getting really hurt by not having Jesse Winker. I think it would help to have to have Jose Siri back, because it would give Tyrone Taylor a little bit more rest and at least put in a bat that we expected to still pop maybe 15 home runs with this team. You're not going to be getting that out of Jared Young playing very often. But just a really, really brutal day for the lineup. Beatty with an 0 for 3, including the error in the field. Vientos 1 for 5, but I mean, I'm seeing more of that final strikeout to end the game from Vientos than I am seeing those home runs from him. And it's just been a tough year for him. 235 average on the year. OPS is 690 for Vientos. McNeil had a base hit. Luis Torrens 0 for 1, but draws 3 walks. How about that? I mean, I have been saying it now for a little while now. I really do believe Luis Torrens needs to be playing more often than he is right now. It seems like every time Luis Torrens plays, he does something really well, whether it's getting a big base hit, by the way, still one of the best hitters with runners in scoring position this year, or drawing walks like he did today, not trying to do too much and expanding the zone and chasing pitches, or even defensively making a great tag, throwing a base runner out, trying to steal. So love Luis Torrens, would really like to see him get more playing time. Alvy just has not earned it to this point. I still want to prioritize the development of Francisco Alvarez, but right now, the Mets are in a dogfight for the National League East. It's still early, but we don't want to lose any more ground than we already have. Luis Torrens is the better option behind the plate. So how they figure that out, I'm not so sure. Everyday Mets and Bluebirds were out loud at Soto at Citi Field today. Yeah, I heard that on the broadcast. You could hear the boos. They are fed up. They are fed up. I don't know if I would boo Soto if I was there, because I just want the guy to hit. That's it. And we're frustrated. That's why fans boo. We boo because we're frustrated, because we've seen him be one of the best players in baseball for almost the last decade, and he's not doing it. Not even close or representative of what we would have thought Juan Soto would be bringing to this team. And it doesn't help with how lackadaisical he looks on the bases, out in the field, getting back to the dugout in between plays. That's nitpicking, I get it, but it doesn't help that the body language, that the energy does not look very good from Juan Soto either. So 100%. Were you at the game today, Everyday Mets? I hope not, for your sake, man. I mean, I hope you did. If you had a good time, then good, great. But I don't think I could have had a good time at that game today. Rain, down, losing immediately in this one, 9-4 to one of the worst teams in the league, man. That sucked. That was brutal. Buzz Bass, Vientos had 3 good months, and that's it. He's not that good. I don't know, man. The jury's definitely out on him. I really was convinced after last season he was the guy. I really thought so, especially because Beatty never grabbed those reins. Vientos obviously, got sent to AAA to start last year, but had that big walk-off homer, gets sent back to AAA. I thought he had a chip on his shoulder. He was ready to make third base his position for the next 10 years. I mean, that is obviously come into question now. There is no way. We don't know who our third baseman is at this point. Not right now, and not looking ahead to the future, because both Vientos and both Beatty have their warts, and I can't figure it out. I don't know why. They both have their issues, and they both seem to have the same issues at different times. One day it's Beatty can't field, and then it's Vientos can't field, and then it's Vientos is hitting and Beatty's not hitting, and then Vientos goes into an 0 for 10 with 4 strikeouts, and Beatty's lighting the world on fire from the plate. It is so infuriating trying to figure out this third base situation. And I don't think it's doing either of them any good by switching them in and out between third base, DH, and second base with Beatty. Like, I'd like to just see one of them get some runway, but at the end of the day, we're not getting enough production from the entire lineup. Beatty's been hot. He needs to be in there. So they got to figure a way to get him in there. Then you look at the Vientos side of things. Hey, last year, 27 home runs, hitting home runs all across the division in the championship series against the Phillies and Dodgers. There's all that hope and promise there. Well, but he's not doing it now. Okay, but does he need more playing time? Does he need a day off? I don't know. That's for Mendoza and the front office to figure out, but it's not working right now. It's just not looking good at all right now. Buzz Bass, terrible third baseman. Yeah, you don't like him, I could tell. D-Rails, you mean Beatty, right? Who can't make a simple throw? Yeah, that was as easy as a throw as you're ever going to have from Brett Beatty. He takes Pete Alonso off the bag on that one. That sets up the second inning. 2 more runs from the White Sox. They're off and running, 4-0 at that point. They add another in the third. It's 5-0. Just a really frustrating game, man. Like I said, it's wet out. It wasn't supposed to be an afternoon game. I don't know how that affects the players. I'm certain it probably didn't do very good things for Griffin Canning and his mindset changing things up like that. But the way Mendoza managed, the way they were fielding their at-bats at the plate looked lifeless. They looked like they were mailing this game in today, and that pisses me off because this is a team the Mets should be beating 9 out of 10 times. This is a game the Mets could have won, could have swept the Sox in, heading into the off day, moving to 14 games over 500, which would have been their high water mark for the season, keeping pace with the Phillies. In fact, actually gaining a half a game on the Phillies because their game with the Braves today was postponed. And instead, I feel like Mendoza and the rest of the team were like, let's go out there, and if we win, great, but we already took 2 out of 3. And by the way, not the most convincing 2 out of 3 that I've seen. This is just like the series with the Dodgers. At least the Dodgers are obvious, the Dodgers. So you win 2 out of 3, you make no apologies for it. But it wasn't a super impressive series from the Mets with the Dodgers. They could have easily and should have won on Friday when they couldn't get a base hit in any of the 4 extra innings with a leadoff runner on second. Then on Saturday, they just barely, by the skin of their teeth, win by 1 run. And then on Sunday, they get just a couple runs on a base hit of a home run from Alonso, and that was it. They basically sat on their hands the rest of the way. They were fortunate. The bullpen was really solid, but it wasn't a convincing 2 out of 3, and neither was this one against the White Sox. On Monday, they don't do anything on offense. They get shut down by former Met from last year, Adrian Hauser, for 7 innings, and then finally said, we should probably try to score some runs here. Sac fly in the 8th. Wow, okay, great. And then a sac fly to walk it off in the 9th. Okay, great. So they won Monday, and then yesterday, like I said earlier in the stream, they had 12 hits. They scored 6 runs, but 4 of those runs came in the first inning, and 6 of those hits came in the first inning, and then they basically did nothing the rest of the way. A sac fly from Jeff McNeil, and then a little insurance run from Francisco Lindor in the 9th. It's just not been a super great stretch of baseball for this team. Look, at the end of the day, yes, they had won 4 in a row until they lost today. And they had 1 back-to-back series now, one of them coming against the defending World Series champions. I'm happy about that. But I'm still not impressed with the product, with the actual play on the field that I'm seeing from this team. I'm just not believing that this team is playing up to their expectations, their ability, and what they need to perform at if they want to be a serious playoff contender and potential World Series winner many months from now. Guys, what's up? Thank you all for joining. Mets lose this game to the White Sox today. They don't complete the sweep. They fall by a final of 9-4. The really only offense in this one from Mark Vientos, a 3-run homer. Just a really ugly game from top to bottom. Offense, defense, pitching. I thought Mendoza totally punted on this one, tried to put the White Sox back at the 10-yard line instead of actually going for the Hail Mary touchdown win. So very frustrating. Guys, be sure to leave this stream a like if you are a Mets fan. You guys want to keep seeing my daily Mets content. I do post-game streams and I post shorts. You could also check out my long-form video I just posted yesterday. That is the bizarre journey of Bobby Valentine, talking about Bobby Valentine's entire baseball life. Really interesting stops along the way. Some things I didn't even realize until I read his book recently. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. Let's take a look at the chat. Buzz Bass, I'm not sold on Beatty either, but he's a way better fielder. Dude, I mean, like, yeah, he is way better than Vientos, but like, by how much? Because like Vientos is not a good fielder, but I'm still not convinced that Beatty's all that great of a third baseman either. Like, that was kind of always the rub on Beatty coming up through the minor leagues. We were like, he's going to maybe be like a Freddie Freeman light where he can hit to all fields and he'll draw walks, but he's not going to be great with the glove. And we're like, okay, we'll take Freddie Freeman light, the guy that can have power from line to line and draw his walks. Yeah, 100%, 850 OPS at third base. Let's do it. He's not that guy offensively. And defensively, like, yeah, he's a step better than Vientos, but that ain't saying a whole lot. At least that's my opinion on Brett Beatty. Let's see. Last year he had JD and Iglesias helping him. They're he's gonna gotta grow up. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who the veteran leader outside of Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor is in this lineup. You know, we had JD Martinez last year, and it seemed like he was a huge help. Who's that guy in the corner now other than Francisco Lindor and to a degree Pete Alonso that's able to talk to these position players, to these young guys like Vientos and Alvarez and Acuna and Beatty and tell them things about their swing? I don't know if that guy is on this roster. Like, the way I'm seeing Soto kind of mope around the dugout and the field, like, I don't think Soto is going up to these guys and giving them advice. He's got his own issues right now at the plate, and he can't seem to figure them out. So the whole lineup is just in a total flux right now. And it has been so frustrating to watch. D-Rails, Buzz, not by that much, dude. I watched him for 4 years. Beatty's not the guy. I'm sorry, dude. I don't know. I think, I don't know if the Mets' future third baseman is on this roster at this point. I came into this year thinking it's 100% Mark Vientos. He's going to be a 25 home run bat for the next 8 years with this club. And now at this point, I'm not sure that the Mets have their third baseman for the next couple years on the roster. Like, Vientos has looked horrific. Beatty has been Beatty. Like, yeah, he'll have his little hot streaks, but, you know, we've seen those before, and then he turns back into a pumpkin. So I don't know what to believe about him. So it's been rough, man. It has definitely been rough. Stanley Babbage went last year. What do you guys think? What is your main takeaway from this game? Let me know in the comments over here. Tell me, what is your big takeaway from this one? Because again, for me, it just seemed like the Mets came into this game and did not really have a very aggressive mindset from the dugout, in the field, on the mound, in the batter's box. And that is the ultimate way to lose games, to come out and not have the mindset of, we need to win this game. Like, we should win this game. And this is a game they should have won. I don't care that you won the first 2 out of 3 versus the White Sox. You barely beat them on Memorial Day. You had 2 sack flies, one in the 8th inning and one in the 9th inning, to beat the White Sox and Adrian Hauser, who couldn't even cut it on the first half 2024 Mets last year when they were 11 games under 500. Throw a party, great. And then yesterday, yeah, you get 2 two-run homers, one from Jared Young, speaking of the Korean baseball organization, with Waddell pitching as much as he did today. Great. How many times do you expect to get a home run from Jared Young? Not very often is probably what I'm going to wager. And you get 4 of your 6 runs in the first inning, and then you basically just sit on your hands and don't do much after that. Your bullpen very nearly gave it up yesterday. Jose Butto has pretty much been a disaster all season long. So, like, I wasn't super impressed once again by this team, despite winning 2 out of 3. The White Sox are a marginally better team from the 2024 edition of Chicago, but not by much. Not by much that you should barely squeak out a 1-run victory Monday, a 2-run victory yesterday where your bullpen almost blows it. And then basically, let's call it as it is. The Mets got blown out today. Like, a 5-run game is not always a blowout. It was a blowout today. They were down 5-0. They made it 5-3, and then the White Sox went up 8-3, made it 9-3, and the final score is 9-4, but it was not a close game. It was not a close game. There was, 2 innings there where it was 5-3 between the bottom of the 3rd and the top of the 6th when the White Sox added another 2 runs. then another one off of Waddell in the 7th. Just a really, really lackluster performance. Didn't look like a very good effort from the Mets today, and that's annoying. You want to fatten up against these bad teams. You had a nice stretch here against the Rockies and the White Sox. I said it, and this was me being greedy. I wanted the Mets to sweep both of these series. They're both at home. There's a rest day in between. There's no reason the Mets should not sweep both the White Sox and the Rockies. And so far, they have failed the first test. 2 out of 3, that's good. The sweep would have been great. Let's see what they do now with Colorado coming to town. That better be a sweep. That's all I'm going to say, okay? There's no park factor elements of them playing in Coors Field where, you know, a couple guys just run into one and they get a home run here or no. Games are at home. It's at Citi Field. I'm pretty sure the weather's going to be fine. There shouldn't be any wonkiness or issues with getting games in. Mets have their 3 best pitchers going for them. They should sweep this weekend series with the Colorado Rockies. And not only that, they should run them out of the building. If the Mets could finally live up to what we are expecting out of them here in 2025, what we think that they should be based on what we've seen them as on paper, then the Mets should run the Rockies out of the building. Colorado has 9 wins this year. They don't even have double-digit wins this year. The Phillies just went to Colorado and swept a 4-game series from them in Denver. So the Mets better take advantage of this opportunity right now and sweep the Rockies in their own building now here at Citi Field over the weekend. 3-game series, no excuses. They better get the job done. You do that, you go 5 out of 6 versus Chicago and against Colorado, all will be forgiven. I will be satisfied with that, despite wanting all 6 of these games. It's baseball. Some days are going to happen like today. I get that. But when you drop this game to the White Sox today, and now you're looking on the schedule and you got the Rockies with 9 wins to their name so far this year, you got to get the job done. You got to go sweep these guys. D-Rose, they play down certain teams, and even Lindor spoke on it. Yeah, I mean, this always has seemed to be a Mets thing. It's not even just this year or this iteration of the Mets, this current core. It has always seemed like the Mets play down to their opponents. And that's just kind of like a voodoo kind of thing. Like, obviously, every team is different from the other. But as far as me here, being a 30-year-old watching, even like the 2006 Mets, they play down to their opponents very often. That whole era, 2007, 2008. Losing to those teams. Look at 2022. I mean, that is, for the most part, a very different core. You know, not the main guys, you know, the Nimmo, McNeil, Alonso, Lindors are all still here, a part of this team. But the pitching staff completely wiped and different from that group. And yet, down the stretch there in September, when the Mets blew the National League East to the Braves, they were losing to some of the scrub teams in the league. The Cubs and the Rockies, and I don't even remember, I think the Reds were a part of that stretch as well. So it is unfortunate, but it just seems to be kind of a part of this franchise's DNA. It doesn't matter what the team looks like, who is in the uniforms. They always seem to play down to their opponents. And I don't know why that is, but that's just a gut feeling from me based on my life as a New York Mets fan. So very, very annoying for sure. But guys, like I said, be sure to leave this video a like. Really appreciate it. It goes a long way toward helping out the channel. And if you're not already subscribed, be sure to do that. We're going to finish up here pretty soon. You can check out my Bobby Valentine video that I posted. That is on my channel right now, chronicling his baseball life. Really interesting twists and turns. Did not expect to see some of the things I did and read some of the things that I did in his book. But let's take a look at the pitching matchup for Friday. The Mets are obviously off tomorrow, and then they are back in action on Friday as they welcome in the Rockies. So, by the way, the Rockies, 9 wins, 46 losses this year. That is... Oh, oof, I don't even know. Like, I wish I could do quick math in my head and figure out what the winning percentage is on that. But I can tell you one thing, it's bad. It's real bad. So David Peterson will be on the bump for the Mets. The Rockies have actually not announced their starting pitcher as of yet. Peterson's been a lot better lately. You know, his first couple starts of the year were like, okay. And then like there was a little stretch where he was going like 2 runs and 3 runs and 2 runs again. And you were like, all right, like he's struggling to even get through 5 or to get through 6. Well, lately he's been pitching much better, much closer to what I expected David Peterson to be coming into this year. So his last time out was really solid, especially when you consider the circumstances. It was on Saturday against the Dodgers after that wild Friday night game that went into the 13th inning where the Mets had to use all of their relievers, and all David Peterson did was say, get on my back. He went 7 2/3 innings. Yes, he gave up 2 runs in that one, but got to 2 outs in the 8th inning of that game before handing the ball off to Garrett Reed. Reed Garrett. I always say his name backwards because it feels like Garrett should be his first name. I don't know. Before handing the ball off to Reed Garrett, David Peterson was great in that one. Overall now for the season, a 2.79 ERA. This will be his 11th start. So hopefully he'll be able to take the ball and deliver for the Mets again. Like I said, we don't have an expected starter for the Rockies yet for that Friday matchup. And then on Saturday, the Mets will have, I believe it is going to be Kodai Senga in that one for the Mets. And let's double check. Yep, Kodai Senga, who still has the best earned run average in the National League right now. So he continues to be excellent. He has made 10 starts this year, 1.46 ERA so far for Kodai. He has solidified himself easily as the ace of this rotation. It's only going to get better when Sean Manaea returns. Unfortunately, there's no one returning to this lineup because right now this Mets team needs somebody to start hitting, because this has just been like a almost 3-week stretch now where the lineup just looks horrible. On the road, at home, doesn't matter. They just can't seem to put it together there. Let's see. Buzz Bass, A's and Nats. Everyday Mets, I don't trust people with 2 last names. Dude, that's my thing with Reed Garrett. Like, Reed is a first name, but it could be a last name. Garrett could go either way too. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know, man. I always call him Garrett Reed for some reason. But yeah, Reed Garrett has been awesome. Hey, getting that save yesterday, locking it down for the team, 5-out save, did the same thing, 4-out save versus the Dodgers on Saturday. Lowest ERA of all National League relievers so far this year. I actually just posted a video on my YouTube about him. You can check that out. It's also on my TikTok, just a little 30-second short. So really, really simple stuff. The description or the links to all those other places, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter are all in the description below if you guys want to follow me on those. And then the Mets will finish out on Sunday with Clay Holmes. The Rockies don't have starters listed for any of these 3 games. So I don't know if they are like traveling today after a game, and maybe that's why they don't play tomorrow. So tomorrow's a travel day for the Rockies. Tonight they are playing the Cubbies, and that is at home, I believe. So either way, it's in the central time zone, either at home or in Chicago, and then they'll probably fly out immediately after tonight's game to New York. So not really sure why they don't have any of their pitchers listed, but bottom line is this: Mets should be sweeping this series from the Rockies. They are horrible. They have 9 wins, 46 losses. They are 25 games back in the National League West. Okay, that means they are basically 25 games back of the Mets, because the Mets and Dodgers have essentially the same record, give or take a win or loss after the Mets loss here today. So there's no reason that the Mets should not sweep the Rockies out of town, get back on the horse. The Phillies are going to have a doubleheader with the Braves tomorrow. The Braves are still, by the way, 7 games behind the Mets, so that is good news. We're keeping a little bit of distance between them, but also we obviously want to keep up with the Phillies and get back into first place. They are playing the Brewers, who don't look like the same Brewers we'd seen over the past couple of years with David Stearns at the helm. They are now 29-28, third in the NL Central, but obviously no walk in the park for the Phillies this weekend as they take on the third place team in the National League Central with Milwaukee. But point is, Mets should take care of their own business, keep eyes in their own backyard, sweep the Rockies. The rest of it will play out. And if you ask me, they do that, I think there's a good chance they're back in first place by the time we wake up on Monday morning. So, guys, again, that is going to do it for this stream today. The Mets dropped the finale with the White Sox, a final of 9-4. Lifeless game for me. I think the Mets punted this one from top to bottom, from the manager in the dugout to the fielding to the pitching to the hitters in the batter's box. So, frustrating game for me. for sure, but they'll get back in action on Friday as they open up that series with Colorado. Be sure to subscribe if you're not already. I do my daily Mets content and post-game streams, and also give this video a like. Really goes a long way toward helping out the channel. Really appreciate it, guys, and check out my Bobby Valentine video out right now. You can check that out on my channel as well. So that is going to do it for right now, you guys. Appreciate you all tuning in. D-Rels, Everyday Mets, Buzz and Bass, everybody else, Stanley Babbage, appreciate you all. Thank you so much. I am Tony Metro. Until next time, stay true to the orange and blue.